Hi everyone, I'm Susan with Pigtail Quilting and Stitching. Welcome to my channel. On this video, part 2, you're going to see the second part of my sewing room. And actually it's a room beside my sewing room, a bedroom, that I use to store my fabric and supplies and projects. So come along with me and I'm going to show you how I do that. So let's get started. So this is my sewing area, part 2. In the last video I showed you my sewing room, and this is kind of a bedroom off of the sewing room where I store my fabric and a lot of my sewing supplies and other things. So I'm going to start here and I'll go around the room. And the first thing you're going to see is this quilt I have hanging above kind of a little island. It could be a small cutting table, and I use it for storage underneath too. But this is a Lori Holt small wall hanging that came from her Farm Girl book, and I made this several years ago. And I did use some Lori Holt fabrics, but I used a lot of my own 1930s reproductions too. And I got a question asking that, so I kind of wanted to show a quilt that I have done that. Just one of the ones I've done. And then on my this little table, this little kind of mini island, I have a place where I can do some cutting or laying out when I'm planning a quilt. I have a couple of Muffy Bears on here. And the Muffy Bears I have gotten over the years, some of them gotten at a little, it's a little vintage store, like a little thrift store. And I have bought several of them there, and they had the clothes with them. And then I have some projects that I'll show you also of what's underneath on my table. So here is these little baskets, and I use them for my projects and to store some of my fabric. And these are underneath the little island that I just showed the top of. And this is some of my Christmas fabric, where I store my Christmas fabric and Christmas projects that I have. And then I just put these little tags on them so I can easily know that this is fabric that I want to use for some of my Christmas projects. And then I'll just want to show you too a little bit more what's on my table. I have some of these little flour sack towels that a friend of mine has made for me, and she's given me a few of these over the years. And I just think they're so cute. I don't even want to use them. I just like to use them for display. She crochets on them, and you can kind of see how cute that she makes them. So I just kind of like to use them for display. And then I just kind of have a quilt hanging on the front of the little towel bar. And then over on the other side, I have some baskets, and I have some backs of my quilts for future quilts and a projects. And I have project bags in one of them. And then I have a to-do list of some things that I I want to get to also. So those are kind of what I keep there. I did want to kind of show these ties. I am going to do a future video and kind of show how to make them, but I just wanted to kind of show a couple of them that are made just from width of fabric and sewn together and turned, and a longer one also. And in the future, I'm going to be doing just a quick little video on how I made these, and that's how I kind of tie my quilts up and then hang them on a command hook. But it's very easy, and it's just, but I have that planned on a video. So as we come around this way, I have a little cabinet, and I've used this cabinet for different various things, but right now I have it in a little corner over here, and I have just put some of my cross stitch that I had found at a little vintage sale thrift store one year, and I just thought that was so cute. I think someone did it several years back. I think it was almost in like the 90s. And then I have one of my toy sewing machines. And I have some of my fat quarter bundle store here. And I'll just open this up so you can kind of see that I have, that door stays open. I have one of my other little machines and some jelly rolls and more fat quarter bundles that I have plans on making and using up. But they're so cute, I just think I like to kind of keep them on display before I use them. So as you're coming around, I have a little bookcase that I store some fabric on, and you can see I have a set of my little Pyrex nesting bowls and some of my red fabric that's I put on my boards. And when you put them on the boards, boy, they certainly take up a lot less space, I'm finding. And I have just kind of reorganized this and moved some colors around. And I have a couple more of my Muffy Bears and one of my little Singer toy sewing machines too. And how I stack these bowls, I've tried many different ways to do that, and I did look on YouTube and found a really good way. Someone had suggested using some of these bowls that we use for leftovers that are the Ziploc or Rubbermaid, and I can show you those. And you put the lid on them and you stack them, and it makes them pretty sturdy. They're not going to wobble around. I've tried batting in them, and they just never stayed straight. So I was really kind of excited to find this way of doing it. And I'll show you those bowls that I do use so you can see that too. But we'll just get a little closer. Kind of see. And I kind of take on my little spools. I buy the little empty spools of wooden spools, and then I just kind of wind some thread around there when I want to put one on for my little sewing machine, a mini spool. And we'll just continue swinging around. So here over in this corner, I just have a little table with a lamp, and I just have a little pin cushion. I have two pin cushions, a little chair pin cushion my sister sent to me, and another little Muffy, and some little cross stitch that I did. It's kind of how I'm kind of my beginner. And one of those little origami stars, this little folded stars. And I just have some little bits of yarn. I'm kind of trying to learn how to do the crocheting flowers. And over here you see that I have another little toy Singer sewing machine. And some of my leftover grandmother's flower garden blocks that I made that didn't go into the quilt that I've showed on a previous videos, I kind of use them to kind of decorate my sewing room, along with button cards. I love vintage button cards. I think they're just so cute. So if you don't have a use for them on a quilt or a wall hanging, they're just kind of cute like they are. So So here are the little Ziploc container and Rubbermaid container that I wanted to kind of show. I have my nesting bowls set, the bigger two nesting bowls with the red one, and I set it down and then set the bowl on top of it. And then the littlest one, or the one that's with the little bowl setting on top, I have this little blue one with the lid, and it kind of makes them nice and sturdy. And so that's what I got, just to raise up my bowls. And if you can see, I'll just go over here again, how they are evenly stacked up there, that they just are very secure with these, and it works really well. And it's not terribly expensive either, because these Ziploc little containers and then the Rubbermaid come either, I think, 3 to a package, and I think the little Ziploc tiny ones come even more. So it's makes it pretty easy to do. And I know you can probably use some other things if you're trying to layer up something that you want to put on display. So here's one of my dressers, and I have moved this before. I had an earlier video and I showed how I organized my fat quarters in here. And I have moved these around, just like you'll notice that this room is changed up a little bit. But so far I kind of like the way this is arranged. Anyway, I have some more of the cross stitch, and I bought these pieces at that place that I kind of like to shop at, the vintage thrift store, and I picked those up there. And then I have some of my Singer machines. This one's a little electric one. This was a gift from a friend of mine. And then I have another one over here, a Singer. So I have moved these dressers around a little bit, and when I reorganize this room, but I do have this is a little electric Singer sewing machine, and this was a gift from a friend of mine. And then I have another little Singer toy, and this little creamer pitcher was my mother's, and it's a little Scotty dog, and she kind of loved Scotty dogs. And these two little cross-stitch pictures I did pick up the same place that I got the little teddy bear one at a different time. So I just thought those were pretty cute too. And in this dresser is just the same as when I had it in the previous video, when I showed you how I have my bed quarters stored. And I'll kind of open those up in a minute. But moving around, just have a little bulletin board with little things that a friend bought me, little pot pad holders, but I thought they were so cute. And then my little sewing Muffy bear that my sister sent to me, which I thought, she's just adorable. And she has her little trunk, and there's some cute little thimbles in there. And this is just a little nightstand that went with the dressers, but I just like to use it in my sewing room. And I have some of my yarn. And some little cross stitch. I think this is needlepoint, I believe, that I did pick up at a little Salvation Army sale, I think it was. And this little cabinet, this little chest of drawers that has a little herbs on it. It's just some drawers. And I worked at a from local, one of our museums here in town, and I worked in the gift shop, and this was one of the things that was there, and I really liked it, and so I brought it, and I thought it'd be cute in my sewing room for threads, or just I store some of my little hearts, my little stars that I have made, and just some little things like that. But it's kind of great for little things that little cubbies that you need to store. So moving around the room, I have another cross stitch that I picked up, and I just think it's just adorable. And I did reframe it. It did have a little bit of little soiled a little bit, but I think the glass, I took the glass off of it because I think that's what made it soiled underneath. The glass was pretty dirty. So I just reframed, put a different frame on it, and still can enjoy it. And here's another Singer sewing machine that I have, just like the one my friend gave me, and another toy. And then I did find another little Scotty dog creamer, and I picked that up too because it reminded me of the one my mom had. And here is another dresser. And those are the ones that have my fat quarters in, and I will open those up and show. I did do a video on how I did that before, but I'm going to show you again what I have in the drawers. So I opened my drawers, and you can see that I still have my fat quarters in there, and I use the dividers. And in that video that I've done before, when I showed you how I organized my fat quarters, I showed you how I cut the foam board, and I have a piece right here that I have an extra piece that I did, and I gave the measurements out on how I do that. But for whatever drawer size you have, you just measure and then cut it with your rotary cutter, and then use them as dividers. And that seems to work pretty well for me. And then still in these drawers, I keep some of my rotary cutters. I have a pinking shear rotary cutter and a scoring one that I use for paper, and some other ones. Seems like we just collect a lot of sewing things, so to speak. And I have my scissors and some of my other scissors. I have pinking shears, my paper scissors, and I have a pair of really nice left-handed scissors too from that. So, and behind the door, keep my ironing board, my little bag, and some of my ironing pads that I take in to beside my sewing machine or when I want to press. So there, I'll take you around the room, and I'm kind of standing in where my door is, but I will follow up with this side of my island. You can see I have the baskets there too, with labels of some things that I have on there, like the backs for future quilts kits that I have bought, and some project basket there, and some of my project bags that I store also. And then on this little cabinet, I'll open up, there's a mirror there, but I'll open up the door, and I just have on top, I have a little quilt kit I bought and plan on making, and I have a little Muffy Bear on top, a little fall Muffy Bear, some of my button cards tucked up there, and another one of my little Singer sewing machines there. So down here I have my buttons and some of my thread too. You can kind of see them there. And some fabric for a future project. And I have a quilt kit that I'm on the bottom there that is going to be for my daughter. And I have made her a couple quilts last year, and I'll have to show those in a future video, but this is one that I'll be making, and that's the back there also. That's just a little extra grandmother's flower garden block that I didn't put in my quilt, but so that was that cabinet there. So I'm going to swing around and we're going to go into the closet. And I have showed this on another video too, but I kind of just rearranged this a little bit or reorganized it. But this was a walk-in closet to this bedroom. And when I made it my sewing area for my fabric, I kind of took the insides of the closet out and put these bookcases in. And they're like the one out that I have in this room, but they're just two of them in here. And when I fold the fabric on my boards, I can get a lot of fabric. I can't stand it up for this because there's no back really on these bookcases, but I can lay them down and it seems to work pretty well. I have the pink ones there. And then I just have some, these are, boy, these from the 1997 or 8. These ones bolts that have been my very, very favorite of Aunt Grace's. And I put those in a lot of quilts. But I have a little Muffy bear and a little Muffy lamp. I have some pinks and some backgrounds. And on top, I've just got, I do have a Lori Holt, that was the teapot quilt, and that's all finished. That's in my living room hanging up. So the box is just empty, but I just think the boxes are so cute to display that I saved my boxes. And then up here is a little sampler that I did pick up at a sale, and I reframed it also. And I just thought this was so cute too. So coming around on this way, I have another bookcase and some little Muffies and Hoppy Bear. And then I have a quilt kit to be done, little bunny one. And I have the back all ready for that too. So I hope to get to that this spring. A friend of mine made that up and I saw it and I just thought that was so cute. And when I saw hers. And here I have some more the pinks. And then other colors. Some purples. And it's kind of small in this room, so I'll really try to, so you can be able to see what's in here. And I have another little Muffy, little artist Muffy. And I have some little mini quilts behind her that are in purples that I have made. Some little tins. So then I'll swing around. And I just have some more of my grandmother's flower garden blocks that I made, extras that I just kind of display along with an extra quilt block. And I have this little dresser too that I could store more sewing things on. And then I have the three-tier tray also. I'll just kind of back up, you can see. And I'll open these drawers on the bottom of my bookcase so you can kind of see. So here's some drawers. And I have the little lesser of 1 yard cuts and 2 yard cuts in there, folded up in these drawers. And then you can see over on this side, I have some blue ones also. My extra blue from the other room. And in the bottom of those drawers too, I have blues tucked in. So, and in this little dresser, I did get this at Hobby Lobby. I just have some of my sewing things stored in here, and I have some of my ties for my quilt ties that I put down here, and just some other storage things of some clips, clothespins, some ribbons, and I think I have more ribbon in the other ones too. And then I have this quilt hung on the door, and this is one my mom had made when we sewed together. We each made one of these. This little broken dish. So there. So now you can see what's in my closet. So this is behind the door of the closet, and I just hang my thread rack, and with my threads. And these little rings are to thread a quilt through, and you can kind of hang them on a hook or on the edge of a dresser or armoire. And I've used those a lot also. And then I just have the little quilt tucked in that I have hanging behind the door. And a little bag my son brought me back from Vietnam when he was traveling, and I just keep my wooden hoops, my quilting hoops, in there. So you can kind of just see this room comes out at an angle. I get a lot of storage in there. Just go over the room again. You can kind of see how it all kind of comes together. This is a view from the other corner. You can see I have a lot of things in here. It is got lots of pieces of furniture in here. But I kind of like to have a lot of storage and places to keep things. So I have a quilt hanging over the door, and I kind of like to do that. I change it out sometimes if I'm not using it otherwise, but it's just one other place that you can to display your quilts. This was a scrappy quilt. So but like I said, I will try and show you in the next couple of videos how I make the ties for my quilts, and I tie them up. And to see how I stored other things. I can kind of open up these drawers too. I kind of mentioned how I've got some blues stored in there. But when they're a little bit too small of pieces to put on a board, I kind of fold them and put them down. But they're sure easy to see also. So drawers make it really easy to see all the fabric that you have. Let's take another little look around. This little lunch tray is kind of, I found this in a little shop in Cambridge, and I just thought it was so cute. And I thought, wouldn't that be fun to have a little tray to put your little sewing things on. Picture of my grandma and me when I was a little baby. Show you up here. This again. And out that door and around the corner is where my last video was, where I saw my sewing room. And I think I did a tour, a video previously about my bathroom, and it's just out the door also to the right, and that's the bathroom that you saw that I did the video on before too. So anyway, so there's my sewing room and where I store all my fabric, sewing things, and the closet also. I kind of wanted to also just show, I got you the little table topper that I got back from my quilter, and I have it on my little ottoman, but I had mentioned it the last video, and I'm just going to keep it on this, but it was made with a charm pack or 5-inch squares, and I think it was on the Missouri Star YouTube website, and they gave a tutorial on it. And so a group of my friends, we made it on one of our sew days, and then I had my quilter quilted it because she just does such a wonderful job. And she got it right back to me, and then I found some cute little buttons at my quilt store, and I just added the little heart buttons. But I just wanted to show you how that looks, because I thought it looked kind of cute with my chair. And then also that little 3-tiered mini cart. I did finish up the little quilt liners, and I just lined my little tray with those. And that's kind of nice for your sewing supplies when you're hand stitching. And I have my little Temecula Quilt Company boxes that I picked up when I got to go through the Temecula Quilt Company store. And I showed that video too in a couple of videos ago. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. I was kind of excited to get that back. Anyway, so just wanted to show you some of that. Thank you for watching this video and for all your kind comments and suggestions and tips. And I really appreciate all the feedback that you've given me. So next on Pigtail Quilting and Stitching, I'm going to demonstrate how I make the ties for the quilts that I tie up, and a few other things that I've done, maybe even some things that I've gotten that I'm going to use in my sewing room, and to show you how I'm going to do that, and some more organization. So anyway, thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing.